Photoshop's new generative AI tools have been all over Twitter in the last few days since they've been released. So I thought I'd do a bit of a video just having a look at some of these features, checking out whether they really work that well, and finding out whether I can imitate some of the cool effects that I've seen people producing so far. So first thing I want to do is generative fill around the borders of different images. So I'm still kind of reeling from the Succession finale that just happened that I watched last night. So first of all, I thought I might try and see what I can do with this Kendall Roy image. So here's how we use the tool. But first of all, what I'm going to do is drop my image of Kendall into here. Firstly, I'll select the image here. Then I can invert my selection so that I've now selected the border of the image, and then very simply hit generative fill and hit generate, and you can see it's going to start building out the rest of my image. So let's see what it comes up with. Wow, that's pretty good. It's made Kendall a little bit fatter than maybe he might have been, but wow, I'm really impressed with that. That's pretty amazing, and that's actually a lot better than some of the ones that I've been testing it out with. So I'll show you. I had a look at some great works of art. So you can see, first of all, I tested out Van Gogh sunflowers, and pretty good. I thought it's done a pretty good effort here. It's got a kind of weird little I don't even know what that is, little nub in there in the bottom, but it's kind of understood the flavor of the piece and given me a pretty good representation. So now let's take a look at the scream. Now this one, slightly different. So it seems to have thought that it was a part of some kind of wall, I don't know, in maybe the Mediterranean somewhere, I don't know, but it kind of hasn't really got the feel for what I was trying to do. Still an interesting image, still kind of cool, but also slightly weird. So let's try the next one. This is Nighthawks by Edward Hopper, I believe it is. And then the generated layer, completely mad. So it does give you options here. You can see here on the left, I have different options for what I might want to use with the AI generative tool, but really doesn't understand this image at all. So I don't know why that is. If you take away the generative image, I don't know whether it's the angles or the light. I don't know. It's kind of geometric in its composition, and perhaps the generative tool doesn't really understand that and has given us more. You can see here it's got lots of different angles. It's tried to fill in kind of strange, but yeah. So that's that one. Then let's move on. I've moved on to album covers next, so one of my all-time favorites. And let's see what the generative image filled in. Quite cool. This kind of worked, I thought. It still looks pretty weird around here. You can see at the top it's tried to imitate some of the writing unsuccessfully, but overall it understands that we're on a road. It understands that it's got this perspective to a vanishing point in the middle, so pretty good all round. Sticking with that theme, another one of their records, and let's see what it's done here. This I thought was ace. I think this is perhaps the most beautiful one so far. It's kind of taken this album cover and turned it into a really kind of moody, atmospheric painting. So, you know, not what I was expecting. I was expecting a more photoreal expansion, but what it's done is super cool, and I really like it. So this one was one that I saw somebody had done Bruce Springsteen online. I'm going to zoom into this one just a little bit. Born in the USA, and they'd done a really cool version, and it turned out amazing. I found on Twitter, so I thought I'd try it myself, and this is what I got. So I mean, wow, what is that? Some kind of weird Cyclops thing, I don't know, but it's disgusting, and I hate this. I hate it so much. It's the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. Look at this. Oh God, horrendous, absolutely horrendous. Blah! Oh, go away, get out. No more of that, thank you. And then we're back to Kendall, which Again, let's just take a little minute to admire what a wonderful job it's done here. It's understood the sky, it's understood everything perfectly. So that's wonderful. So that in itself is pretty cool. But I do also want to take a look at some of the other things that you can do here. So if I just, and now I'm going to put him in a underwater background with coral and little fish, and let's see how it does. So okay, so it's given me a few options here, kind of weird, but if I bring my Kendall back just so that it tidies up the edges, you can see it's put him in all sorts of different wonderful little ocean going scenarios. Now you can do this with all sorts of images, and one powerful thing that I've found to do is to pull images from Midjourney and to drop them into Photoshop to have some fun with them. Okay, so I'm going to take this guy from a previous video that I created in Midjourney, and I am going to copy this image and drop him into Photoshop. And now if I select my guy, okay, so now I'm going to put him into a utopian futuristic background with flying cars. Let's see what happens. Wow, well, that really hasn't worked at all. Now I think it's because I didn't tell it to do the rest of the guy. I mean, this is kind of cool. This is kind of cool, but I think I didn't tell it to extend this man here. So you can see there are some quirks, and it doesn't always do exactly what you want straight away. You do kind of have to play around with it in exactly the same way that you often do with ChatGPT. But finally, one other thing that I'm just going to play around with for you here is to adjust the facial features and have some fun with what you can actually do at the facial level. So this is obviously a robot man. Let's just select this area here, and now we're going to give him some aviator sunglasses. So as you can see, again, it's okay. It's okay. I mean, it's, you know, if like a few years ago, I would have thought, wow, this is like insanely amazing that it can do this. Whereas now I'm kind of thinking, well, it's good. It's good, but I feel like I've seen better AI stuff. And the flying cars here, yeah, they look a bit like flying cars in the background, but they don't look exactly like flying cars. So let's try giving him now a hairdo, shall we? Let's give it a little bit more background so it's got a little bit more context. And let's say give him a quiff hairdo. See if it understands that. Wow, okay. Wow, I don't know what on earth it thinks it's doing there. That I guess is kind of a quiff. I don't know what that is. There we go. That's the quiffiest quiff that I've seen so far. So it clearly does get me. But yeah, so this is our robot man with his flying cars. So as you can see, it's good, but I think a lot of the versions that you've seen online that look perfect, don't believe everything that you see. I think a lot of these people are designers that are using this for inspiration, but then they are putting a lot of their own energy and knowledge into the final version, because you only have to look at the Bruce Springsteen version, which I pulled up, to see that clearly the generative AI on its own, it's not that smart. I mean, it's smart, and like I said before, it would be really amazing, you know, if we'd seen this a few years ago. But now that degree of expectation from generative AI, I think, has just gone up like a million notches. So there's one last thing that I just want to try with this, and that is to test Midjourney against Photoshop to see which one gives me a better image from the same prompt. So let's get the version from Photoshop. I'm also now going to imagine the same thing in Midjourney. Okay, so this is what I got from Photoshop. Oh my god! Oh my god! I mean, that kind of works. That kind of works. That doesn't. That's just weird as hell. So let's see now what Midjourney comes back with. Okay, so here are my versions from Midjourney, and wow, look, they're so much better. They're so much better. And obviously with Midjourney, I can upscale. So I'm going to upscale number 2 so that I can get the full version. Maybe let's do number 3 as well. Okay, so here's the difference between Midjourney and Photoshop. I can't even look at it. I can't even look. Okay, so I think the lesson here is that the Photoshop generative AI tool is great for filling in around the edges of pictures. It can understand what's already in the image pretty well. And clearly, you know, we are living in the future. These are amazing tools just generally. But if you want to create a real beautiful picture that does exactly what you describe in the prompt, then Midjourney is still the best tool out there as far as I can tell. That said, obviously there are lots of things that you can't do in Midjourney. You can't make those selections and fill in gaps like you can with this Photoshop tool. So I think the future really is going to be in using all of these different tools together, bringing in those incredible Midjourney images, dropping them into Photoshop, and then using the generative AI to build them out and create other more expansive images and creations. So that's it from me this week. Let me know if you've been testing out any of these tools. Let me know if you like the new room that I'm in. I've moved. I'll probably go back into the other place next time. And completely off subject, but if you've been watching Succession as well, then please drop something in the comments because I can't stop thinking about it. I will see you next time.